Simon has been granted tentative bail by the Biafra District Court in Lahti, Finland, meaning he may soon leave Kilmakoski Correctional Center and reunite with his family. His former lawyer, Ekpa, resigned unexpectedly from his case just 5 days before the bail decision, after representing him since November last year. A new lawyer, Cal Gomez, known in Finland for his aggressive and decisive legal approach, took over Simon's case and pushed hard for a fair and speedy trial. Cal Gomez objected to the delay in Simon's trial, which had been moved from May to June, and demanded bail due to the prolonged detention without trial. The Finnish court granted bail despite the serious charges, which is unusual in Finland, suggesting some of the more serious allegations may have been dropped. Cal Gomez questioned Nigeria's ability to extradite Simon, stating it's unclear whether Nigeria has completed the necessary legal paperwork for extradition. Simon has been under intense investigation by Finnish police and security agencies for the past 2 weeks, originally in preparation for the now-delayed May trial. The bail is seen as a legal and psychological victory, possibly reducing Simon's charges to incitement only, and giving him a chance to recover emotionally and plan his defense. Simon's political status in Finland remains complicated. Though previously disowned by the National Coalition Party, his name still appears in their political database. USB movement leaders held a strategic meeting, including the Deputy Prime Minister and 40 regional governors, to discuss policies and developments that affect USB citizens. Today, I want to share with you one of the most significant developments to emerge from the Finnish legal system this week, centered on a man named Simon. For the past 2 weeks, Simon has been under intense questioning by the Finnish police and the Finnish security service inside Kilmakoski Correctional Center, a high-security facility located just outside the city of Lahti. This morning, the Biafra District Court in Lahti granted Simon tentative bail, a decision that could reshape his legal journey and finally reunite him with his family after months of uncertainty. The scene at the Biafra District Court was quiet, yet charged with anticipation as the judge delivered the decision granting Simon tentative bail. I could almost feel Simon's relief as the gavel came down, freeing him, at least for now, from the confines of Kilmakoski Correctional Center. Tentative bail in Finland is exceedingly rare, especially for someone facing serious allegations, but in Simon's case, the court appeared to acknowledge the length of his pre-trial detention and the impending delay of his trial date. Later this week, or perhaps early next week, Simon is expected to walk out of the correctional center and into the arms of his loved ones. Just 5 days ago, Simon's original legal representative, advocate Ekpa, submitted an unexpected letter of resignation. Advocate Ekpa had stood by Simon's side since November of last year, guiding him through every hearing and challenge. His departure so close to the crucial bail decision took many observers by surprise. In his resignation letter, Advocate Ekpa cited personal reasons for stepping down, but he offered no further explanation. For Simon, this meant immediate uncertainty. His trusted counsel was suddenly gone, and the clock was ticking toward his rescheduled trial. Almost as soon as Advocate Ekpa stepped away, Simon's new legal advocate, attorney Cal Gomez, assumed responsibility for the case. Attorney Cal Gomez carries a reputation in Finland for an aggressive yet principled approach. He has earned respect for taking on difficult cases and pushing firmly for his clients' rights. No sooner had attorney Cal Gomez reviewed Simon's file than he launched a determined campaign to secure a fair and speedy resolution. His first move was to challenge the decision to push Simon's trial back from May to June, insisting that prolonged detention without trial violated Simon's basic rights under Finnish law and the European Convention on Human Rights. The court's decision to delay the trial had come as a shock to many, including attorney Cal Gomez. The initial trial date of May had been set several weeks ago, and both Simon and his original counsel had prepared accordingly. Then, just days before the hearing, the Paimio District Court issued a brief announcement moving the trial to June. The reason given was a crowded docket and the need for additional time to review the complex evidence. To Simon's supporters, though, it felt like an unnecessary postponement. Attorney Cal Gomez argued that this delay left Simon in limbo, held at Kilmakoski Correctional Center without a clear end in sight. At the bail hearing today, Attorney Cal Gomez emphasized that Simon had already spent more time in detention than most suspects accused of similar offenses in Finland. He pointed out that Finnish pre-trial detention is meant to be an exception rather than the rule, reserved only for those who pose a clear flight risk or threat to public safety. With Simon's family ties firmly established in Lahti and no record of violence, Attorney Cal Gomez made a compelling case that Simon was neither a flight risk nor a danger to the public. He asked the Biafra District Court to consider granting bail with strict conditions, requirements for regular check-ins, travel limitations, and electronic monitoring if necessary, instead of keeping Simon locked away for another month. The Biafra District Court ultimately agreed, granting Simon tentative bail under conditions that will require him to surrender his passport, report in daily to the local police station, and remain within the Lahti region until his trial. The court's decision surprised many legal experts in Finland, where serious charges typically preclude bail. These serious charges originally included incitement and potentially more severe allegations, but today's ruling suggests that some charges may have been dropped or reduced. It is possible that the prosecution elected to focus only on the incitement count, viewing that as the strongest case, and allowing the other allegations to fall away. After the bail decision, Attorney Cal Gomez remarked that this ruling marked both a legal and psychological victory for Simon. He noted that being able to sleep in one's own bed, to share a meal with family, and to plan a defense from outside a cell makes all the difference. For Simon, this is more than just freedom pending trial, Attorney Cal Gomez said. It is a chance to regain his strength, to strategize with his new legal team, and to face the future with hope. I could imagine the relief washing over Simon as he heard those words, knowing that his children and spouse would soon be by his side again. Yet beneath the relief lies a tangle of international legal questions, most notably the question of extradition. Simon's case originated from allegations that prompted demands for his return to Nigeria. Back in January of this year, the federal government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria announced that it had completed the necessary legal processes to request Simon's extradition. Government spokespeople assured the public that they had sent formal requests, evidence, arrest warrants, and all required supporting documents to Helsinki through diplomatic channels. Today, however, Attorney Cal Gomez cast doubt on whether those documents had actually cleared every hurdle. He told reporters that to his knowledge, the Finnish authorities had not yet received, or at least not yet fully processed, the extradition paperwork. Under Finnish law and the terms of the 1961 Finnish-Nigerian Extradition Treaty, the requesting country must submit a complete case file, translated into Finnish or English, along with certified copies of arrest warrants and judicial decisions establishing probable cause. If any part of that package is missing, Finnish courts cannot move forward. Attorney Cal Gomez said he was still investigating whether Nigeria had fulfilled all its obligations under the treaty. This uncertainty stands in stark contrast to the January announcement from the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. At that time, a statement issued by the Attorney General of the Federation proudly declared that the Nigerian government had done everything necessary to ensure Simon's prompt return. That statement was made public in Abuja and carried widely in the Nigerian press. Today, those conflicting accounts leave Simon's supporters and detractors alike puzzled. Should they trust the words of the Nigerian officials who spoke in January, or the observations of Attorney Cal Gomez now? Nobody can say for sure yet. Meanwhile, the Finnish police and the Finnish security service have continued their investigation into Simon's alleged activities. Over the past 2 weeks, officers have interviewed Simon multiple times, reviewed his digital devices, and gathered witness statements. All of this work was supposed to feed directly into the original May trial, but now it will be part of a June proceeding instead. Each interview, each seized document, and every digital record could play a critical role in determining whether Simon's actions rise to the level of criminal incitement under Finnish law. For Simon himself, the last few days have been a whirlwind. Imagine being held in a maximum security wing of Kilmakoski Correctional Center, cut off from your family, waiting for the date of your trial to arrive. Then, suddenly, your longtime lawyer steps aside, a new advocate takes over, and within days the court sets you free, albeit under strict conditions. Psychologically, the impact of release on bail cannot be overstated. Human beings are not well suited to endure lengthy periods in isolation, especially when the outcome of their situation remains unknown. Now Simon will be able to sit down with attorney Cal Gomez and his legal team in a comfortable meeting room instead of behind a glass window at the correctional center. He will have the time to read through the evidence against him, to formulate a coherent defense strategy, and to gather character witnesses. He will be able to meet with his spouse and children, who surely have felt the strain of seeing their husband and father locked away. There is also a tactical advantage. With Simon at liberty, his legal team can move more swiftly to challenge the prosecution's evidence. They can debrief witnesses, collect affidavits, and perhaps even negotiate a plea that focuses solely on the charge of incitement. Some observers believe that the more serious allegations, those that might have carried heavier penalties, are now effectively off the table, leaving only the incitement count. That could mean a much lighter sentence if Simon is ultimately convicted, or even an acquittal if the court finds insufficient proof. Turning to the political realm, Simon's case has resonated far beyond the courtroom. Simon's involvement with the National Coalition Party, known in Finnish as Kansallinen Kokoomus, has been complicated from the start. As many know, the National Coalition Party is Finland's largest centre-right political party, with deep roots in both urban and rural communities. Early this year, in March, the party publicly disowned Simon, announcing that he would no longer be recognized as a member or candidate under its banner. Party officials spoke of preserving the party's reputation and distancing themselves from the allegations against Simon. Yet when I looked at the National Coalition Party's internal candidate database today, I was surprised to find Simon's name still listed among the party's register of elected officials and candidates. That discrepancy raises questions about the party's administrative processes and its true stance towards Simon. Was the disavowal merely a public relations move, while internally the party machinery continued to treat Simon as one of their own? Or did someone simply forget to remove his name from an electronic list? Either way, the inconsistency highlights the tension between public statements and private organizational habits. The timing of all this is particularly sensitive because Finland is set to hold national parliamentary elections later this month. Campaigns are in full swing, and the National Coalition Party has been vying to maintain or even expand its seat count in the Eduskunta, Finland's unicameral parliament. The situation with Simon could provide ammunition for political opponents to question the party's discipline and decision-making. Meanwhile, USB movement leaders have taken note of Simon's release, viewing it as a morale boost for their broader cause. Speaking of the USB movement, I should explain that USB stands for the United Sovereign Bloc Movement, a political and social organization with a presence in Finland and among expatriate communities abroad. Today, leaders of the United Sovereign Bloc movement convened a strategic meeting in Helsinki that included the Deputy Prime Minister of the United Sovereign Bloc movement, Mr. Ungo, along with 40 regional governors representing USB citizens from across the globe. Their agenda covered a range of policies designed to protect and empower USB citizens, from economic development programs to initiatives aimed at safeguarding human rights. At that meeting, participants spoke of the importance of showing solidarity with Simon. They described him as a vocal activist who had long championed the rights of United Sovereign Bloc citizens inside Finland. His detention had cast a chill over the movement, leading many activists to fear that the Finnish authorities were cracking down on free speech. But with the news of Simon's bail, the mood shifted to one of cautious optimism. The governors discussed plans for a public rally in Lahti to welcome Simon home, with strict adherence to the bail conditions and Finnish public assembly laws. I could sense the energy in the room as the USB regional governors shared their visions for the future. They spoke of leveraging Simon's newfound freedom to bring attention back to issues like migrant rights, social inclusion, and political representation for the United Sovereign Bloc diaspora. They want Simon to address them at their next conference, where they will unveil a multi-year strategy for the movement. There was talk of forming a legal aid fund to help USB citizens who face similar legal challenges, drawing on the lessons learned from Simon's case. As I reflect on all these developments, I find myself struck by the way one person's legal battle can become a nexus for so many issues: legal, human, political, and international. At the core is Simon, a man who went from being an elected official of the National Coalition Party to a disowned member, from a detainee at Kilmakoski Correctional Center to a man granted tentative bail by the Bahamemed District Court. His story touches on the intricacies of Finnish law, the tension between national sovereignty and international extradition treaties, and the power of legal advocacy to secure fundamental rights. Yet the next chapters remain unwritten. Simon's trial will resume in June in the Paimio District Court, and it remains to be seen how the prosecution will proceed. Will they press forward with the incitement charge alone? Will they introduce new evidence? Will attorney Cal Gomez succeed in having some charges dismissed entirely? And what of the extradition request from Nigeria? If and when the court receives the complete extradition dossier, Simon's legal team may challenge its validity or the process by which it was transmitted. Meanwhile, Simon will be under the watchful eye of local Finnish authorities, attending daily check-ins and abiding by travel restrictions. He will need to balance the demands of his legal battle with time for his family, time to rest, and time to plan. And political life beckons again. With national elections looming, Simon must decide whether to attempt a political comeback, perhaps running as an independent or under the banner of another party, or to step back from public life altogether. The leaders of the United Sovereign Bloc movement have already said they will stand by him, offering resources and public support. In the coming months, we may see rallies, public statements, and perhaps a renewed campaign for USB representation in Finland. And if Simon's trial ends favorably, either through acquittal or a plea limited to incitement, it could mark the beginning of a remarkable political resurrection. On the other hand, if the court hands down a conviction, even on the lesser charge, Simon may face fines or a short sentence, potentially derailing his aspirations once again. For now, though, the story is one of hope and vindication. The Bahamemed District Court's decision to grant Simon tentative bail stands as a rare exception in Finnish jurisprudence, signaling that even in cases with serious allegations, the balance of liberty and justice can tilt toward personal freedom. Thanks to the efforts of attorney Cal Gomez, Simon will soon leave Kilmakoski Correctional Center and walk free, at least until his next court appearance. He will be greeted by his family, buoyed by the cheers of United Sovereign Bloc supporters, and fortified by the knowledge that he still has allies on his side. As the sun sets over Lahti and the gates of Kilmakoski Correctional Center swing open, Simon will step into a world that feels both familiar and profoundly changed. He will carry with him the strength he found during his time in detention, the determination of his new legal team, and the solidarity of a movement that refuses to let him stand alone. And in the days and weeks to come, we will watch closely as he writes the next part of his story. Simon's weeks in Kilmakoski Correctional Center ended this morning when the Bahamamed District Court in Lahti granted him tentative bail under strict conditions: daily check-ins with the Lahti Police Department, surrender of his passport, and a ban on travel outside the region. His original lawyer, Advocate Ekpa, who had represented him since November, resigned unexpectedly just 5 days before the hearing, leaving Simon in uncertainty. Immediately after, attorney Cal Gomez, known in Finland for his forceful yet principled advocacy, took over the case and successfully challenged the court's decision to postpone Simon's trial from May to June, arguing that prolonged pre-trial detention violated his rights. With his release, Simon reunited with his spouse, Anna Maria Johansson, and their children, Emilia and Marcus, experiencing the simple relief of home after weeks of waiting. In meetings with attorney Cal Gomez on Alexandrinkatu, Simon reviewed the evidence and prepared to focus on the single remaining charge of incitement, as the court's willingness to grant bail suggests more serious allegations may have been dropped. Meanwhile, questions swirl over whether the Nigerian government has fully submitted its extradition request as required under the Finnish-Nigerian treaty, despite January statements to the contrary. On the political front, Simon's name oddly remains in the National Coalition Party's internal registry, despite a public disavowal in March, and Finland's parliamentary elections loom on April 27th. Leaders of the United Sovereign Bloc movement, led by Deputy Prime Minister Ungo Tansing, are planning a May 3rd gathering in Lahti's Sibelius Park to show solidarity while respecting bail conditions. As Simon prepares for his June trial in the Paimio District Court, he faces decisions about his future in politics, his family's well-being, and his long-held commitment to free speech. This is the end of our news update. Please click the icon on the top right corner of your screen to watch my next video. You will enjoy it. I will see you again in my next update. Enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye for now.